Zoe here. Today I am super excited to talk to you because I'm going to be introducing a new mini-series on my channel today, which is all about my experience with ayahuasca and attending Rythmia Life Advancement Center. I've done so much spiritual growth this week that I'm honestly having a hard time putting it into words, but I'm gonna do my best to share this experience with you and everything that I've learned. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's talk about ayahuasca, because I know that maybe some of you haven't heard about it, maybe some of you have heard about it, and maybe some of you have even tried it. And if you have, please let me know down below which space you're coming from, the space of not knowing, the space of maybe you're thinking about it, maybe you've heard about it, maybe you're curious, or maybe I'm introducing it to you for the first time. So, ayahuasca is a plant medicine from the Amazon rainforest. And it is a very sacred plant, and it has been known about and used for over 5,000 years. So it has very intense, beautiful healing powers. And upon ingesting the plant, after it's been brewed and blessed by a shaman, then you have the ability to have spiritual awakenings and experiences that can help heal you in your physical body and in your spiritual body. And just I personally was able to heal like ancestors of mine, so it was truly just a complete transformative experience. And so how did I decide to do plant medicine? And I want to tell you a little bit of a story of how I feel I was called to do ayahuasca, and maybe there's some of you out there who can relate to this as well. So at the beginning of the year, January 2018, I attended a life improvement seminar called Landmark. And I did this in London, and it was like life coaching and just personal reflection and growth on your life so far. And I felt that it was a very rewarding experience, but one part of the experience that really stood out to me was that we had lunch each day together as a group in a lunchroom. And I noticed this guy who was probably a few years older than me, and he was wearing a Peruvian sweater. And I recognized this because the High on Life guys, they had sold them before and they'd been to Peru, and I recognized it. So immediately I was like, like someone who's younger as well here, and I feel like I could relate to him. And I also noticed what he was eating, and it was like vegetables and rice and beans. And I looked at his face afterwards, and I immediately made this connection. I'm like, he's vegan, for sure he's vegan. If you guys are vegan, you probably know sometimes when you see other people, you can just tell that they're vegan. They have this like glow about them, and he definitely had that. And so I asked him, I says, hi, are you vegan? And he's like, yeah, actually I am. And I was like, I knew it. Like I'm vegan too, and I can always tell when other people are vegan for the most part. And so he said, yeah, but I've only been vegan for a few weeks now. And I was like, oh wow, like what made you make the change? Was it a documentary? I'm always curious as to what caused the shift in people. And he said, ayahuasca. And I was like, ayahuasca? I was like, what's ayahuasca? He's like, well, I was just in Peru, hence the sweater. And so he starts to tell me more about this experience that he had, where he went and drank this type of tea from the Amazon that was blessed by a shaman, and he was able to just release all the blocks that he had inside of himself. And he recalled some spiritual experiences, but for me, I'm all about like defeating those blocks. As you guys know, like law of attraction wise, I want nothing in my path of my greatest, most abundant future. So he had me out like destroying blocks in like one night with this special tea. And I was like, oh, like I was so curious, right? I was so curious. And so each day at lunch, he'd tell me a little bit more about ayahuasca. And as much as I took away from Landmark, the Landmark Forum, this life coaching seminar, I felt so curious about ayahuasca. So I go back to Rome and living my life in Rome, and one of my friends had returned from Brazil, and she said, you know, I had the most life-changing experience. I did ayahuasca, and I was like, I know what this is. You drank the tea. Okay, tell me about the tea. So she starts recalling how this experiences went for her and how much she transformed as a person. And Anastasia knew her better before ayahuasca than I had known her. And she's like, it's a completely new person. It's a completely new person. And so I was just so curious. And as it turns out, as the year had progressed, and I just kept ayahuasca on my mind as like something I want to do one day. But, you know, I knew in my mind I wanted to be at the source. I wanted to be somewhere in Central America, South America, on the borders of the Amazon rainforest. Like, I just felt in my heart that if I was going to do something like this, I wasn't going to go to Amsterdam to do it, or any other places that it was available. I wanted to go to the source. I wanted to be in the jungle. I wanted to, like, if I'm gonna do it, I wanted to do it that way. And so the year went on, and I kept attracting ayahuasca into my life in ways of documentaries, YouTube, podcasts. It seemed like more and more people were talking about this ayahuasca, this tea, that everyone was drinking the tea. And they weren't spilling the tea, they were drinking the tea. And I was like, I want to do this. Like, and the whole year, from that seminar and prior to that, as you guys know from like my book, Beauty and the Breakdown, and if you've been watching my journey so far, you know that I always strive to be my better self. And I'm always on this route of like uncovering more and more about myself and trying to improve and excel and just live and learn and share that with you guys. But this year, I struggled the whole year with feeling like I had a purpose. And I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea, like I wasn't suicidal or anything like that, but I struggled with trying to see my purpose in ways that, like, for example, I remember a lot of the month of August I spent lying in my bed in the morning, not wanting to get up because I didn't know if anything I was doing was actually helping people. I didn't know if videos that I was putting out was actually being received by anyone. It was like I had a complete disconnect. And it was crazy because I feel like ayahuasca found me at the exact time it needed to happen. If you know my journey, like I said from Beauty and the Breakdown, you know that I've only worked on it, trying to make this dream of Rome, Italy happen for myself, and it happened. And I attracted the most beautiful group of friends, and I've attracted so much abundance, but it felt like I wasn't sure if it was enough, if I was enough. And I struggled a lot, as you guys know, when Riker, Alexi, and Megan passed away from High on Life. I also struggled earlier that year when Avicii took his life, because music has always been powerful to me, and I truly loved his music, his work, and if you've seen his documentary, I just felt so much for his suffering. And then Anthony Bourdain passed away, and this was very difficult for me because I felt like my main sources of inspiration in this world, these people like Riker, Alexi, Megan, Avicii, Tim, and Anthony Bourdain, had all died. And I struggled with why did they have to die? And I struggled with it for the majority of summer, really. I feel like, as much as like it was fun traveling, I still made videos for you guys, but inside, and each morning I had this difficulty because I didn't know if I was serving the world in the best way that I could, in a good way. I don't know. I just, like I said, I felt a disconnect. And somewhere in summer, I believe it was in the end of July, Rythmia reached out to me and invited me for a week. And I checked out the website, and immediately I was like, oh, this is an ayahuasca retreat. And so I looked more into Rythmia, you know, it's like 5-star luxury, like in the jungle, like there's a pool, there's a beach, there's palm trees everywhere. It's safe, it's medically licensed, the only medically licensed place to do ayahuasca. And I was like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna go do ayahuasca now. Like, this just seems like the next step that I need to take. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But I was resisting, because I've never done drugs before, and ayahuasca has hallucinogenic properties. So I was like, I'm gonna go to the jungle and do drugs for the first time with strangers, like, but sure, I'm up for anything. I'm like, this happened for a reason. It came into my inbox for a reason, and I felt that the second I read it, and yeah, it just aligned. So I said yes to this week here in Rythmia, and today's my last full day. And I can honestly tell you guys that my life will never be the same. And I'm really looking forward to what happens. I don't know anything for sure. Of course, nothing is certain, but I know that I have infinite possibilities and infinite just abundance waiting for me when I go home. And in the next videos in this series, I'm going to be recalling the 4 different trips that I took on ayahuasca. So these were after ingesting the tea, what I saw, what I experienced, because leading up to this experience here for me, I watched other YouTubers recall their journeys, and just, I feel like the more that I can put out there, the more it could help those of you who are interested in doing ayahuasca, or who maybe feel like it's something that you could want to do, or just introduce it to you, because I owe it to this experience, to Mother Ayahuasca, because I now know my truth. I now know my soul, and I know how to better serve others and live this life of mine. I feel so blessed to have a body, to have a human experience, and now I know moving forward I'm going to be the best person that I can be. And I'm looking forward to it. So I hope that this series helps you guys. Like I said, it's gonna be my 4 trips, and then at the end, which I'm so excited because I just filmed this video with Jerry, who is the founder of Rythmia, and he wrote the book Shit the Moon Said, which I'll link down below, because it really prepared me to do ayahuasca. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing this journey with you guys, even if it doesn't make sense to you. If you're like, wow, Zoe's just talking about how she did drugs in the jungle, like, whoa, what happened to her? Like, I don't care, because I transformed because of it. I'm gonna do my best to put my transformations into words. But if it doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. But for those of you who are going into this experience soon, I'm making this video for you, so that maybe things will feel a little bit more comfortable when you're going through them. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I love you, and I hope that you're excited for this next series and for this next chapter of my life, because things are about to change.